Hey, Dwayne. Hey, Mom. Just call and let you know. Travis got abducted by aliens tonight. I haven't seen him for a few hours.
Oh, did he go chasing after a lot again?
He did.
It's like in the background, you hear the cop. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Shadows and Sightings, a paranormal comedy podcast where we talk about all things spooky. I'm Taylor.
I'm Nick.
And we have an interesting subject for you today. This is either a great first-hand account of some alien shit, or it's one of the best hoaxes of all time. That is for the listener to decide. Today, we are talking about the Walton experience, or the Walton Incident, whatever you want to call it. I think his book was called The Walton Experience. The Fire in the Sky, The Walton Experience.
Was it the movie? Okay,
yeah.
Same old
shit, same shit, you know.
Same shindig. There's some alien stuff going on. There's some experimentation stuff going on. There's some butt stuff going on.
What was that last
part? Experimentation.
Oh, I thought you said butt stuff.
We do need to do like an episode on
butt stuff.
No, the whole origins of why like the butt stuff thing occurs or is such a frequent theme with alien abduction. They probe my ass,
dude. The aliens got a butt kink. I think that's all there is to it.
What if they don't?
Maybe it's just the most accessible orifice into your intestines.
Or maybe like the first person they ever abducted was like really into butt stuff. And was like, oh my God, this is a fantasy come true. Like, thank you. Yes, please. And they were like, no, we're not fucking doing that. That's weird.
Freak. What do you think we do up here?
We just want to interview you and ask you a couple questions. So you're not going to do butt stuff?
I mean, I can flip over if you want. I can.
No, if you want to, but will that make you more comfortable talking? Like, that's not enough. And since then, once this individual's returned back to Earth, he just had a vendetta. I was like, you know what? I'm going to spread so many malicious lies. Aliens are into some butt stuff. Okay, I was abducted, and they did all sorts of obscene things to me. Don't trust those guys. And here, meanwhile, aliens are just like...
We don't do butt stuff.
In the background, like, what the fuck is that guy talking
and somehow
about?
Everybody they abduct, they're all into butt stuff. Like, that's the whole reason. Yeah, they're like, oh, finally. Finally, if the fantasy has been fulfilled, flip me over and...
Oh, God, you too, the butt thing.
That's why you fucking Earthlings are so weird. We just need some simple answers. How is the water still on the planet?
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's how that has to go. That's how it starts.
It's like a wildfire of misinformation.
Aliens have no need for understanding, I guess, the human body. Because isn't it like if they're like so far advanced in the future?
You would think.
I guess depending on like what school of thought.
My school of thought would be like, hey, aliens brought me onto the ship. They have me standing in a thing, and they scanned me. And it showed them every single organ and every single cell and every nerve ending and everything that's possibly could be experimented on.
That has ever existed.
And there's no reason to be probed for it. All right, well, there's the lungs. Okay, that's weird. That's weird that they're there. There's stomach, I guess. All right, interesting. Brains in the top. Okay. All right, can I go now? Like, it's just like a physical.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah.
Stop sticking stuff in my ass.
Like, you don't need to do that.
They're like, we're just giving you a prostate exam. Well, why?
I don't need one. It's like,
I'm not 40 yet.
It's like, I'm a woman. I don't have a prostate. Yeah. It's just, I want to know where like, and I remember reading into it a couple of years ago because I was like, okay, what's the whole deal behind this butt thing? And I want to say that there is like if I remember correctly, it was a pretty bizarre rabbit hole of like what the actual fuck. That's what I was saying. It'll be like a whole nother episode that we have to do, like the origins of probing.
That'll be a very graphic episode.
Oh yeah, well yeah,
We'll have to put a disclaimer in front of that one.
It's just going to be a general proceed if you dare. Proceed with caution. So what's been what interesting stuff happened with you this week, man? How's life treating you? How was the show?
It was good. The show was good. But I think the cool thing we did was the cryptid market at Thick and Thin Brewing Company.
Yeah, that was fun. We got to go out there and have a nice cold beer. Yeah.
Named the Chupacabra.
Oh, so
very on brand. It was a
sour.
It was like a margarita sour or something.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I just remember being sour.
I was like, ooh, this tastes like salt. It's salty.
It did have a hint of some lime.
Yeah.
Hint of some sal.
And there was
salt.
Probably 20, 25 vendors out there.
Yeah.
In their little tents, and they had everything from cryptid posters to T-shirts and stickers to Jason masks to...
How much were the masks?
Well, they were all handcrafted. I think he made them from scratch.
Yeah.
And I want to say they were like $60.
Oh, that's not...
60 or $70. Yeah, something like that.
Terrible.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. If you're an avid Friday the 13th collector, then I wish I would remember some of these people's shops so I could plug them, but I don't remember. I finally got me a Mothman shirt that says Mothman stole my catalytic converter in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. That was from a guy named Mountain Ink Designs, I believe. And Nick, what did you get?
I got a poster, but it's a map of Maryland.
It's so fucking cool.
But it has all the different cryptids from Maryland.
Yeah.
All in one poster.
It's like in an old style, like an English seafaring map almost.
Yeah.
Like that old English style. That's so cool. It's got the Snallygaster on there, Snarlyow.
It's got Chessie.
It's got a bunch I've never even heard of. So this is actually kind of cool because that's stuff that we can look into and do episodes on.
That's what I was telling Brittany. I was like, there's things on here that I didn't even know was in Maryland.
Yeah. Like what's the witching tree or something like that down in the bottom? Witch's grave.
Witch's tree, the egg people of Pocomoke Forest. I don't know. That looks interesting. The Dorchester Demon. The Demon Truck of Seven Hills.
A demon truck.
Oh, yeah. It's Maul Dyer Rock. Yeah, cool things that we'll explore.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Shout out to Star Cruiser Studios, Cryptids and Curiosities.
And you can follow them on Instagram.
Yep. At Star Cruiser Studios, or you can visit their website at starcruiserstudios.com.
They have a lot of cool stuff. I looked at their website. Yeah. They have a really cool selection of cryptid t-shirts and maps and all kinds of stuff. So definitely check them out if you are looking to upgrade your merch game.
Wanted to get the West Virginia one.
Yeah. It would be cool to just have, obviously it'd be really cool to have all 50 states and just have them on that wall. Just have a big map of the U.S. and all the cryptids. That would be cool. But just to have Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. Our little area, our little tri-state area.
Tri-state. It's allow us to consult our high-tech tracking device. Are those prints?
It's like you have the projector screen over top of the map, and all right, time to look it up. And you do the classic, you pull the projector screen down.
The rattling. It's those just look like prints.
They are.
They are just prints.
Fingerprints of cryptids.
Of every rat bastard cryptid that we're going to track down and send back to hell.
This is Teddy Roosevelt 2.0, baby.
This is the same map that Teddy Roosevelt used to capture the Snallygaster back in the day. Yeah. No, but it was a good time. Also, shout out to Thick and Thin Brewery if you're ever in the Hagerstown area.
It's right off of Sharpsburg Pike or the Walmart. Obviously, because there's a Waffle House there. Go for the Waffle House, stay for the Thick and Thin.
Yeah. I mean...
Yeah, it was a really cool place. I've never been there before, so...
Oh, I love it.
Awesome experience.
It gives me Kushwa vibes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, no, not to throw any shade at Kushwa or Thick and Thin, but I feel like every brewery these days is kind of formulaic in the way that they're presented. It's always a big industrial building.
It's just a trend right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can see all the vats of beer. And then it's a lot of steel and copper and wood. And that's the vibe.
And I'm okay with that. I love it.
I don't hate it.
What's the brewery in Frederick?
Idiom?
Do they have that?
They're actually a little less that way. They're more, seems like more wood grain, but I feel like they still have the big vats of beer on site. Like everybody has that, yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. Those are my three.
Top three brewers.
There's another one literally right next to them. Another brewery that I've never been to.
Oh, yeah.
We have to check it out sometime.
And then we also have to check out Dragon Distillery at some point. I've never been there either.
Oh, yeah. That's another. They're not. What are they?
They've got like the Snallygaster rum or.
It's like hard liquor, right? It's like spirits.
Yeah.
Spirits. Yeah.
Since it's a distillery.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
We'll have to see if we can record an episode down there.
Ooh, that'd be cool. That'd be neat.
I'd like to take this show on the road to an extent. I'd like to go to these local places and just talk cryptids and conspiracies and hauntings with them. I was really trying to hook up with the owner of the Carriage House Inn in Emmitsburg. Okay. Which was like a hotel, and like it's been a lot of things over the years, but it was, around for the Civil War, and it's I get to talk to her a little bit, and they apparently have a whole lot of firsthand experiences with,
Ooh, that'd be a fun episode.
Shadows and sightings, as it were. So I'm still working on that. Hopefully one day we'll get to
make it happen.
Sit down and have an in-person interview with somebody.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Yeah. That'd be an experience.
But if you have anybody that you know that is a local business owner or any that's a cryptid fanatic or anything like that would like to be on a podcast, let us know. Shoot us an email or send us a message. Drop us a line, I guess, would be the best way to word that. Always looking to expand our horizons, and if we can help other people out in the process, we're always on board to do that.
Well, you know who else had a crazy experience?
Who's that?
Our good old friend Travis Walton.
Oh, yes. The good old logging incident of 1972?
75. 75. Close. Okay, so before we dive into Mr. Walton and his supposed or actual experience, whatever you believe, have you ever seen the movie Fire in the Sky?
I have not.
It's fucking terrifying.
Really?
That scene, like, just scarred, because I remember seeing it when I was a kid. Like, that scene freaking scarred the shit out of me.
What scene?
It's like the scene where he actually gets abducted. So the whole, he sees the light in the sky, touches the thing, and the light, and he gets beamed up or whatever. But he wakes up inside the ship, and it's kind of like really decrepit on the inside. So when I think of an alien ship and abduction, I'm thinking it's like clean. It's
like a pristine.
It's like a medical lab setting kind of thing. Yeah. Stainless steel or some sort of like alloy metal chrome, kind of thing. There's like computers,
some bubbling
things, little green men walking around
like in lab coats.
Maybe lab coats, just very robotic and animated, kind of just like soulless. That's not the case in the movie. So he gets abducted and he wakes up almost in like this organic like pod type thing where he like pokes a hole and it's like this like film.
Is it like the Matrix? Like, remember when Neo takes the pill and he wakes up in the little pod and he has to like...
That's more high tech.
Goo and
that's more high tech. And actually, this is like... It's almost like when you played Skyrim and you would go into like the Draugr caves.
Okay.
How it was like just dusty and like, grimy and stuff. It was more like that. So he, if I remember correctly, he like wakes up in this pod and he like opens up this film and he like steps out, but there's like gravity, so he can't like get his footing. There's like a scene where like it zooms in on like a little kid, like a Chuck Taylor, like a Converse sneaker that's like obviously a kid's shoe. It's like floating and like ripped and shit. And then something grabs him and it starts pulling him down this like corridor, this dark corridor, and he's like freaking the fuck out. And it gets thrown on this table, and the aliens are wearing these like little mask things, and like in like flailing, he knocks off the helmet and it shows its actual face. And I was like, oh god,
it's nasty.
Had these like little tiny beady, they had like orange like flesh, looked like a thumb, and just these little tiny black. You can look it up. Just type in like a fire in the sky aliens, and these beady little eyes. They put this like film thing over him, like it basically like suction cuffs him to the table. It's just like this.
Oh yeah.
Just like hideous. Like just like suction cups him to like the table. they take this like goo stuff and they like stick it in his mouth so he can't like, scream anymore. And he's like gagging on this like petroleum jelly. And but the part that's like terrifying is they zoom in on his eye, and like his eye opens up and like a needle just starts like slowly like going.
I'm out.
So like the needle just starts, and he's like freaking out. His like eyes moving back and forth, and he can't move, and he's just screaming at the top of his lung. Oh, it is like the most terrifying alien abduction scene I've ever seen.
Anything with needles going in eyes, I'm instantly like, yep, I'm going to cover my eyes. I'm not going to watch this.
It doesn't show it. It just shows, it's just the anticipation. He's just like,
okay.
Yeah, it doesn't actually.
I'm thinking of like, do you ever see the movie Hellfest?
No.
It came out like 2018. It's basically an amusement park for Halloween.
Yeah.
But one guy sneaks in and he's an actual killer. Anyways, fast forward to like halfway through the movie, he's like in the middle of his killing spree, and he knocks the one kid down and throws him against the wall and gets a thing. And it's like same thing where he's got like a needle and it's like trying to get into his eyes, and then it goes in, like it doesn't cut away. You see like everything. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Nope, not for me.
If there's any Dead Space fans out there, they'll recall in Dead Space 2, there's a scene where you actually had to guide the needle into Isaac's eye to get some like code imprint, some bullshit or whatever. But if you're like, if you do it too fast or too hard, it would like fucking like backfire, and like this needle just like injects yourself and like kills you. It's just like, oh, terrifying. But yeah, so yeah, that scene is just pretty iconic. If you were to ask me, what is like the most horrifying alien abduction scene you've ever seen, like that freaking movie?
And when did you see this movie that left such an impact on you?
Oh, I was probably like, had it been like 10 or 11.
Oh yeah, so you should not have been watching this.
It was
movie.
on Sci-Fi.
Of course.
It was on the Sci-Fi channel.
Back when Sci-Fi was cool.
Back when it was actually Sci-Fi.
SCIFI. Not SYFY.
It upgraded. I was like, what is this shit?
Yeah. What the
I remember when it changed. But yeah, if you ever get a chance, you should watch it. We should watch it.
We should have watched it before we started recording.
But that, yeah, it just left such a great impression. Travis Walton is the actual, movie is based off of Travis Walton.
He's the actual guy.
The actual guy. A lot of controversy around this story. I remember when watching this, I was like, oh yeah, okay, this totally happened.
Yeah.
The older I got, I was like, oh, this is complete bullshit. It's a pretty, I believe it's a pretty,
I think it's
engineered hoax.
See, I'm willing to hear him out. I don't know if you watched, because I was doing a little bit of the research. He actually was on the Joe Rogan show.
Oh, okay.
And he gave a firsthand account of what happened. And it seems like it really shook him up, but it also could have just been from decades of telling the story that he's now perfected it.
Yeah.
So, it's like, try to give him the benefit of the doubt, because, I mean, you want to believe what the person is telling you is true. You'd want to sympathize with their situation. You don't want to just dismiss it.
No.
But the circumstances that kind of occur before this definitely leave you scratching your head and wondering how they set this whole thing up and how they got away with it.
So I guess we can start with like the actual incident itself. So
let's set the scene on November 5th of 1975.
That's like the day that, the actual incident allegedly occurred. So why were they there to begin with? So Travis and I believe his brother-in-law at the time and a couple other buddies, they were working as loggers. I think Mike, his brother-in-law, his name was Mike. He was like the foreman. Secured a government contract, and it was to clear out some forest area in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest near Herbert, Arizona. I think they were awarded the contract the year before.
Yeah.
So I think it was like a year's worth or whatever.
Yeah. And basically the way the contract worked was if you had to have a certain amount of work done in a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And this is kind of where the hoax part comes in, but we can talk about it.
There's a good alibi.
Yeah. We can talk about that a little bit later. But so they're contracted to be out logging in this forest.
I think the contract was supposed to expire in like November.
Well, I think I seen it was this happened on like a Friday and their contract was up on a Sunday. Or something along those lines.
It was pretty close.
Like coming up fast.
It was pretty close. Like I guess the government sent out like an evaluator. And he was flat out like, you guys aren't getting this done.
Like, well, we need more time. Like, I've got every guy I have on this crew, working. Like, we're trying to get it done. Yeah. He knew that they weren't going to get it done in time.
I think he even wrote them the day before the event, the incident.
Yeah.
He wrote like a letter to them, was like, hey, it's not going to get done.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to work until A, you guys either tell me to stop, or B, we get the job completed or whatever.
Right. But I could be wrong, but if he didn't get the amount of work done in the allotted time and the contract, they were going to take the contract away and not pay him for any of the work that had been done.
It was so they were going to revoke his rights to complete any future bids for like a probationary period, and then I think there was like a $2,500 fine.
Oof.
Isn't that some shit? Like you don't get the job done, so we're gonna take your money,
but we're not paying you.
We're not paying you.
U.S. government.
So then in 1975, Travis, who was 22 at the time, I thought this was kind of interesting. So he was a member of the 7-person forestry crew led by Carl's older brother, Mike. He was 28. Yeah, the year before he got like the bid for the contract, which, okay. I read this fact here and I thought it was kind of, you have a 7-person crew and the contract is to clear 1,277 acres of land. For a 7-person, and I'm by no means a logger. I have no idea, but that to me just seems
that math
like
ain't mathin'.
right. Like that seems like bizarre, right? Like
yeah, unless you've got like 7 dudes just in bulldozers that are just leveling like, hundreds of acres at a time, or not a time, but like a day. Because
I imagine like 10 acres, like let alone
like 7
5.
dudes could get 10 acres done probably in like a week. Yeah,
maybe
like maybe.
But
to do 1,200,
yeah.
So if you do the math, 10 acres a week. There's only 52 weeks a year. You're not getting that shit done.
So October 20th, Rogers writes to the Forestry Service contracting office, quote, I cannot honestly say whether or not we'll finish on time. However,
you gotta like the honesty.
However, we are working every day with as much manpower as I can hire, and I will not stop work until the job is finished or until I am asked to stop. I have had considerable trouble keeping a full crew on the job. The area is very thick, and the guys have poor morale because of this. ... We will keep working and trying hard. So already morale is low, and this whole, like you mentioned, the timing of the contract ending was at stake. Kind of sets up it's just the perfect storm of how this incident kind of appeared, and then a lot to the criticism was like, okay, this
to coincide with that same night that he wrote the Forestry Service, the NBC network aired a primetime TV special called The UFO Incident, a made-for-TV movie about an alleged alien abduction
about Barney Hill.
Yeah, it was James Earl Jones was starred in it as Barney Hill and had undergone a hypnosis session in 1964, after which he reported recollections of an alien abduction. So basically, he's writing the forestry this letter while watching the UFO incident on primetime and probably thinking to himself, I
think I got an idea.
And, him, I believe it was him, his mother, and Travis were all quote unquote self-described UFO buffs of some sort. So they were already claiming to be super interested in UFOs and aliens as it was.
And also too, shortly before his disappearance, so probably around the time that they were watching this film, Travis told his mom not to worry if he were ever abducted by aliens because he would indeed return safe and sound.
This guy was ready. He's like, I'm throwing down with those aliens. I'm coming back. So then, all right, fast forward to the actual night of the incident. Well, you can't fast forward yet, because around the same time, the National Enquirer was also offering a $50,000 reward for anybody with substantial evidence that they had been abducted by aliens. They were looking for a news story, and they were putting the word out there, feelers out there, that they were willing to pay people substantial amounts of money for any kind of juicy story with proven evidence.
That's just like asking for it.
It really is. In the spring of 1972, the National Enquirer tabloid began advertising a $50,000 prize for proof of extraterrestrial visitors. By 1975, the prize had been raised to $100,000. So there's your perfect storm. You've got your your triangle of events. $50,000 or $100,000 offer from the National Enquirer for alien abduction story.
You have a tight deadline that you're not going to get made, that you're not going to make. It's going to impact your future bidding opportunities.
And you're going to be financially responsible for it.
I'm never going to financially recover from this.
And 3, you just watched an NBC primetime special that you can be like, if we can replicate this and convince people that this happened to us, we've got something here.
I want to see a movie now where Fire in the Sky was like the actual retelling the experience. Give me like a Seth Rogen movie where it's like a comedy spoof of them trying to like recreate this and like put this plan together to engineer this hoax.
I like it.
You're right. So all of those factors, listeners, should be considered. And of course, we're not telling you to believe or what not to believe, but these are the factual things that were kind of at play right before this incident occurred.
Psychologists and skeptics argued that after viewing the movie UFO Incident, any person with a little imagination could now become an instant celebrity by claiming an abduction, concluding that one of these instant celebrities was Travis Walton. Here's his side of the story. You want to take it?
Sure. So, okay, the alleged incident on November 5th, 1975, Michael Rogers, so the individual who was like the foreman.
Yes, brother-in-law,
reported that Travis Walton was missing to the Navajo County Sheriff. 6 members of the crew claimed that they were driving down a forest road when they saw a lit object above the ground near the roadway. They reported that Walton got out of the truck and ran towards the road, the object, which shone a light on him. Just like, what the fuck is that?
God damn it. Stop the car.
Just like opens the car, just fucking
tucks and rolls and hightails.
Just fucking books it out. Like, where the fuck is he going?
Does the fucking Captain America run past on your left?
Like, when he's like running down like the hallway, chasing after the Winter Soldier. Like, I'm gonna get that fucking light.
Yeah.
They reported that Walton got out of the truck, ran towards the object. They said that they drove away in fear only to return 15 minutes later to find both Walton and the light missing. At 7:45 p.m., a member of the logging crew called Officer Elsie Ellison, Sheriff Marlon
Gillespie, I think.
Gillespie, and Deputy Kenneth Copeland. He sounds like a badass.
Deputy Copeland.
Like, he just sounds like...
Give me your gun, Copeland. You're off the case.
No. Oh my God. Like, he's the kind of cop that doesn't really, like, drink black coffee. He just, like, opens up the can and eats the grounds.
Oh my God. Who has time to wait?
I ain't got time to bleed. I got time to wait. And then Copeland. So Deputy Kenneth Copeland, the 3 of them drove to Heber to meet with the loggers, Rogers, and 2 crew members, and agreed to return to Turkey Springs. So, Heber's like the town over, and then they're like, okay, well, let's go back to Turkey Springs with the 3 officers, while the 3 other crew members refused to return and instead drove home in Rogers' vehicle. The 5 men searched Turkey Springs until shortly after midnight, when Sheriff Gillespie paused the search until morning. Around 1.
So let's just stop there for a second, because there's a lot to dive into. First of all, why the fuck you get out of the car and run towards the light? That's my first question. Like, okay, you don't all stop and get out collectively to be like, hey, like, let's look at this for a second, see what it does, or if it does anything.
Yeah.
Instead, Travis just hops out,
just bolts.
And then the rest of them are like, oh, fuck this, and drive off without him. Like,
see, I've heard conflicting like versions of this. I've heard other versions where Travis, like, they were driving and they see like a glowing light, like in the forest. So it wasn't on the main road. They were driving down the main road and they noticed a glowing light in the forest. Yeah. So then they stop the car. Travis gets out and he kind of walks through the forest and to investigate it.
Well, he described it on the Joe Rogan show that it was a golden hue of light just hazing the forest, and he was walking through. Yeah. And that's what initially caught his eye. So we're the conflicting, like, who's telling the story different ways? Who knows?
I don't know. It's so, and then of course he touches the light, or the glowing, he finds the ship, touches it, and it kind of like makes him freeze or whatever.
Well, the ship was up in the air, right? Or was it on the ground?
Well, see, I've heard two versions. I've heard where there's one where he walks up to it, he touches it, and then there's the one where it's kind of like floating up.
I was going to say, I think what he said on the Rogan show was that he could see the craft above him, and part of it was illuminated with the beam of light coming down.
Yeah.
And that's how he got beamed into the ship.
Gotcha.
That's even when it's the cover of the book or the movie.
Yeah, he's like in
he's looking like he's getting zapped with a laser.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what would compel a man to. I mean, like, I get it. The curiosity is cool.
I mean, if you're a UFO buff,
I can't say that I probably wouldn't have reacted differently.
Well, I can't blame him for running in and looking. If you think it's a UFO, if
like
you see something,
like the curiosity of it would like.
But my question would be why Michael, his brother, who is also a self-prescribed or just self-described UFO alien buff,
he fucking left his ass.
Just drives off without it.
It's like, nope.
Yeah, he's like, I like reading about it, I like the stories, but fuck that.
Just gone. Just like, really? You sure you want to do that, Michael? Or Travis? Okay, he made his choice.
But then for them to have the audacity to leave and then come back 15 minutes later,
hey, so
like they stopped 15 minutes. I really feel bad about this.
I guess we gotta go back. We gotta go back. Yeah, we gotta go.
Let's go check on him, make sure he's okay.
He like walks up all slowly, he's like kicking rocks. So we kind of overreacted.
And then he has to call the police. Like, hey. My buddy Travis Walton's missing. We just kind of left him in the forest and drove off.
You left him?
Well, he seen a light and he chased it.
It's like, so let me get this straight. You've known this man for how long? We've been friends for a while, and you just left him?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
he's a grown adult.
Look, when we were kids, he'd always say, yeah, if I ever see a light and I run into the forest, don't worry about me because it's probably the aliens, and I know that I'm going to be back fine. So,
and you guess what happened tonight? That motherfucker went after some goddamn aliens, and he told me not to chase after him, and that's why we're here. Can you help me find him?
All right, I guess.
All right, well, let's start the paperwork.
Yeah.
Around 1:30.
This is my favorite part of the story, honestly, or one of my favorite parts of the story.
Around 1:30 a.m., Deputy Kenneth Copeland and Rogers.
Good old Kaplan.
And Rogers visited Walton's mom. According to Copeland, when he informed her of the disappearance, she said, well, that's the way.
That's the way things happen.
Well, things happen. Shit happens, I guess. Copeland said he was shocked by how calmly she took the news in her general lack of surprise.
It's like the mom knew one day her son was going to get abducted.
It's just like, that boy, since he was a little kid, said, if you ever see a light in the forest,
I'm going to chase it.
I'm going to chase after it. Don't worry about me because I'm going to come back.
And I believed him. But I really don't think you got to be out there looking for him, to be honest with you.
You guys are just wasting your time. And you watch, he'll be back in a couple of days. You'll see. Copeland, of course, was shocked by how calmly she took the news and her general lack of surprise. Walton, his older brother, Dwayne, and his mother were described by the sheriff as longtime students of UFOs.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of then. Maybe Dwayne wasn't with them. I thought Mike was the UFO guy. So it's his brother, his actual brother, not his brother-in-law.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Dwayne. Because Travis Walton's mother lived in a ranch house without telephone service. That's weird. Rogers drove her into town.
He's a 70s man.
Really? Like that? Like, I would think that you would still have, well, maybe, I guess.
It was a different time.
Maybe, I don't know. Rogers drove her into town so she could call Travis's brother Dwayne and their sister while Copeland followed. Around 3 a.m., Walton's mother called her daughter, waking her. Deputy Copeland again was shocked at how well Travis's family took the news. Maybe he just wasn't liked. Maybe he was just like a dick and they were like, oh, finally.
Hey, honey. Yeah, Mom. It's 3 a.m. What do you need? Travis got abducted by aliens. Okay. Yep. I just wanted to call and let you know. All right. I'll talk to you later.
He just says that, just silence for 10 seconds. Well, didn't he always say when he was a kid, if you ever see a light shining in the forest?
That's what I've been trying to tell the police.
And they don't want to fucking believe me.
Hey, Dwayne. Hey, Mom. Just call and let you know. Travis got abducted by aliens tonight. We haven't seen him for a few hours.
Oh, did he go chasing after light again?
He did.
It's like in the background, you hear the cop. What the fuck is wrong with you people? So then, of course, he's missing, and this was what launches like.
Yeah, and he's been missing for a while now. And so the following day, a search party of nearly 50 people scoured the Turkey Springs area, but failed to find Travis or any signs of an altercation. Law enforcement were surprised when, after a few hours, Travis's mother told them, "I don't think there's any use of looking any further. He's not around here. I don't even think he's on the earth."
Okay, so look, pause right there. You know what I think that was? I bet you she had a conscience. She probably knew something was going on as far as like the hoax is concerned.
I'm sure that they filled her in. They're like, "Hey, we're going to do this thing."
But she probably feels bad. Number one, either she feels bad that it's like they're wasting all this time, or number two, she's like, okay, if law enforcement's getting involved and like I know that this is a hoax, someone's going to find out. Like we could be like liable for this. Like it's a federal offense.
Yeah. You're not wrong. I can see that. Once she said that, Sheriff Gillespie. That's what I'm going with. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name, but that's what I'm going with.
I'm just going to call him Sheriff G.
Yeah. Gillespie then dismissed the volunteers. However, the following morning, November 8th, Rogers and Dwayne complained in person about the discontinued search. As a result, Sheriff G assembled another search party, which included a helicopter. So he dismissed the first 50. All right, guys, go home. The mom said, call it off. She doesn't think that he's on Earth anymore. The next day, all right, guys, bring it back in. All right, All right, now we got the bird in the sky. Let's go. Regional papers covered the story on November 8th, and that day, a member of a Phoenix-based UFO interest group recorded a 65-minute interview with crew chief Mike Rogers and Travis's older brother Dwayne. At no point during the interview did either express any fear or concern for Travis. Rather, they expressed confidence that Travis would be returned. Like, once he gets up to the aliens, they're not going to want him. He's going to come back. He won't shut the fuck up about his 1972 Chevy truck.
he loves himself some baseball cards. I always thought this was weird about it. He loves himself some baseball cards. Okay.
If there's one thing he loved more than UFOs, baseball cards.
Baseball cards. And by God, he will not shut the fuck up about these damn baseball cards.
Or UFOs.
It's the perfect storm of just...
As a matter of fact, he's probably got a pack of baseball cards in his pocket right now. He's having every alien on that ship's side.
Blabbering away. I tell you, if they bring him back, it's not because they're done experimenting with him. It's because they're down to annoy the fuck out of him.
They're going to show his mouth shut before anything. I like that they all have thick Southern accents.
Yeah, out in Arizona.
During the interview, Rogers discussed the forestry contract, saying, "This contract we have is seriously behind schedule. In fact, Monday, the time is up. We haven't done any work on it since Wednesday because of this thing, and therefore it won't be done. I hope they take that into account." Forestry contracts included an act of God clause that excused contractors who are delinquent due to unforeseen circumstances.
It's so comical. Like when I was a kid, dude, I like believed this story so much. I was like, oh my God, this is like real evidence that aliens exist and that people are being taken away. But then as I got older in life and bills started hitting me, and I'm reading over this shit.
It's starting to make a lot more sense.
like, oh yeah, I get it. you got to pay that bill. You got to come up with something, man.
I love that there was an act of God clause in there. That's so fun.
I like to imagine Mike was probably sitting in like a library somewhere, and like he was at a library trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? Where is there a rabbit hole, a loophole, something? What is this? An act of God.
And there's nothing that I know God hates more than aliens. And my brother Travis, God hates him because he won't shut up about his baseball cards.
Fucking baseball card.
You would think that, like, as a forest, he just fucking set the forest on fire. That could be an act of God. Oh, the forest is on fire. We can't work.
Something. I mean, it's just, but you can't. This ties back into the whole the national, what is it, the inquiry?
Yeah.
With the papers or whatever.
Then you don't get the $100,000
you don't get the money. Yeah, if you
reward.
set it on fire, you don't get the money. But you can create an act of God.
Act of alien.
You can charge for the act of God story.
It's true.
Get you payout. Probably, trumps in comparison to what they were actually going to get paid from the Forestry Service.
Oh, probably. So anyways, going back to this, during the interview, Dwayne, again, started talking that he and Travis and her mother were UFO buffs who had previously discussed that if they ever saw a UFO, they would, quote, immediately get directly under the object. I love that they sat down as a family and have a UFO emergency escape clause. It's like, all right, what do we do, Travis and Dwayne, if we see a UFO?
We go directly under the light.
Good. Because the opportunity to go aboard a UFO would be too great to pass up. Dwayne repeatedly insisted that Travis was not even missing. He knows where he's at, and I know where he's at.
It's just like in the background, you see Travis like walking and like forget that there are people that are like he's like in his underwear drinking a cup of coffee, spits it out and like runs back like oh,
hey, was that
was that you now? No. Oh, Travis?
That was
Larry. my plumber.
Yeah, he hates UFOs.
Yeah. In fact, if he ever saw a UFO,
he told me if he ever saw one to go the opposite direction,
he would not go directly under the light.
Not like Travis.
Yeah, not like Travis.
On November 9th, law enforcement continued the search for Travis until late afternoon when Walton's mother again requested the search be halted. By November 10th, stories of Walton's disappearance were being published throughout the U.S., UK, and Canada. On November 11th, the press reported that Travis's mother felt any further searching for Travis would be useless. Also on November 11th, Rogers and the 5 other members of the forestry crew were interrogated by Arizona Department of Public Safety polygraph examiner C.E. Gilson to determine if the men had murdered Travis Walton. I'm sorry. It's just like it gets so extreme.
Yeah, like how crazy this ramps up is like ridiculous.
They all denied having harmed Travis. Gilson opinioned that 5 out of the 6 men were being truthful and described results for the 6th man as inconclusive. So pretty much the police think that this is bullshit and they actually just murdered him and tossed him into the forest somewhere. And they all passed a polygraph test, which have we talked about this? That like polygraphs are just bullshit.
I kind of mentioned it last time when we were kind of briefly talked about it.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me, and maybe it's changed since
the 70s.
Well, the 70s. Well, back in college years ago, they had like one of my classes, like forensic psychology. We had a whole thing about that. And yeah, basically they're bullshit, but they're still admissible in court, which is fucking crazy. And I don't know if that's like changed since then. Highly doubt it.
It always makes me think of that episode of Avatar where because Toph could like tell when people were lying, and she meets Azula, and Azula's like, the sky's purple, I'm a 30-foot giraffe, and blah blah blah, and she's telling the truth about all these things, and clearly it's like, so yeah, it's the same thing. It's like, well, if you're such a good liar and you just stay calm, you can get away with anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's not because a lie is not like an actual physical thing you can detect. It's like subjective.
It's a bodily like reaction.
Yeah, it's measuring your body. Yeah.
So the next day on November 12th, shortly after midnight, Walton placed a collect call to his sister's home from a payphone in Heber, Arizona. He reached her husband, Grant, who then drove to pick up Dwayne and proceeded to Heber to pick up Travis.
Okay, so just for our listeners out there, timeline. November 5th is when Travis goes missing.
Yes.
And then November 12th is when he returns. So he's gone
from beyond the stars.
So the course of a week, he's gone off the planet, missing some whatever.
No signs of
Travis, but they're all adamant he'll return, he'll come back, and then 7 days later, he does return. He places a phone call at this payphone or whatever.
Yeah, and the collect call operator recognized his name as that of the missing man and alerted Sheriff Gillespie, who dispatched a deputy to the family ranch house. A lot of like ins and outs of just Travis getting back to the ranch. That's all kind of just, we've seen him and then I think it's pretty much just from there. At that point, once he returns, if you look through the history of the case, it pretty much just becomes finger pointing. Yeah. At that point, it's Travis, he gains, of course, notoriety. They make a film. He writes the book. They make a film out of it. One thing I did want to touch on was the part where Dwayne was seeking medical attention for Travis. He reached out to a UFO researcher he had met, and the researcher referred to themselves as Dr. Lester Stewart, a hypnotherapist. Dwayne took Travis to meet with Stewart, but his first words were that Travis needed a medical examination with lab tests and was not ready for hypnotic regression. Stewart noted that Travis seemed very confused and reminded him of drug addicts he had treated. Stewart also noted that Travis had a small lesion on the inside crease of his right elbow, consistent with intravenous drug use. After meeting with Stewart, the Waltons returned to Dwayne's home where UFO researchers arranged a house call by two medical doctors who were also amateur UFO investigators. When they arrived at 3 o'clock, Dwayne forbade them to use their camera or tape recorder, nor would he allow them to ask Travis about his experience. The doctors noted the presence of the apparent puncture mark and estimated it to be about 24 to 48 hours old. So the only reason I really wanted to touch on that was that in the search for medical attention for his brother, he reaches out to a self-proclaimed doctor who's a UFO enthusiast.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't take him to the hospital. Reaches out to a UFO enthusiast.
Yep. It's the perfect story.
Who then sees a mark on his elbow for drug use that turns out to be about a day or two old.
Yep.
I mean, I just don't know. I just don't know what to make of this.
I don't buy any of this story. I honestly think...
Are they implying that aliens punctured his elbow and gave him drugs?
Oh, no, yeah, that's the implication, is that intravenous site or whatever where that mark is was due to some sort of like experimentation, like some medical procedure that aliens...
It couldn't have just been from him sticking a needle in his elbow himself.
No. Because I don't think he actually had a history of drug use.
But it doesn't have to be a drug. It could have just been an empty syringe and gave himself the mark, right?
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, for sure. But I think the whole reason behind it is... Oh, hey, this guy was abducted by aliens. He's claiming that he was experimented on. Here's the proof. There's a mark in his arm or whatever.
Right.
To showcase.
Let's get the Inquirer on the phone.
Yeah. Well, no, so I'm glad you said that. So in the days following the claim, the National Enquirer awarded Walton and his coworkers a $5,000 prize for best UFO case of the year. And for those of you who don't know, $5,000 is roughly about $30,000 in 1975.
Wow. After that, he pretty much goes on the press tour.
Yeah, the amount of money that he's probably has made from the film, his book, the press, the notoriety, probably set him up for like the rest of his life. Yeah, he saw an opportunity, he seized it, and it kind of paid off in the end.
Yeah, and basically the reason that he didn't get the $100,000 payoff was that the National Enquirer sent out a guy named Jack McCarthy, who was a freelance polygraph examiner, arranged by a UFO group and the National Enquirer, concluded that Travis was engaged in a gross deception and had even been intentionally holding his breath in an attempt to beat the machine in reference to the polygraph machine. Yep. So he was basically trying to cheat the system, and he was like, you're bullshitting us. Yeah. That's why we're like, we can't give this guy the money. Yep. The Enquirer, I guess, thought it was such a good story that they
still paid him something, yeah, which was probably for them because in their best interest, because they did provide a story. So if they're saying, hey, if you give us a story that meets these criteria, we will pay you this much. And I guess that could open up a lawsuit if they're saying, hey, we're doing what you guys instructed, us to do, essentially. We're meeting the criteria. You guys are refusing to, that's a lawsuit, like false, not false advertisement, but I guess, maybe it would be like false advertisement.
Yeah. I just want to touch on real quick So November 22nd, he appeared on a Phoenix television station, and he actually gave a description of what happened to him in this interview. And he said that he lost consciousness when he was struck by a beam of light, and that when he awoke in a hospital-like room, he was observed by 3 short, bald creatures. He says that he fought with them until a human wearing a helmet led Walton to another room, where he blacked out as 3 other humans put a clear plastic mask over his face. He said that he remembers nothing else until he found himself walking along the highway 5 days later with the flying saucer departing above him.
I did forget about the Nordic-like beings, the human-like beings. So, yeah, there's little short aliens that, were performing the experiments, and then in walks, I think in other accounts, they were described as like blonde hair, blue eyes, and were kind of a more calming presence and helped him kind of relax her. But then, of course, he doesn't remember shit, and then that's when he's walking on the highway.
Right. Like I said, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and you can just look that up on YouTube. I did. while I was doing this research. If you're interested in his modern take, because that was in 2021, he retells the story. And of course, Joe's asking him a bunch of questions about what happened. And so he gives kind of more details. I'm not going to try to pretend I remember what exactly he said. I remember mostly him saying about the golden light hazing the forest. Yeah. And it was eerily creepy. And he remembers what the saucer looked like. And that's when he went into it.
So that same year, I also thought it was interesting how Rogers actually went on Facebook and announced, basically, I won't say called him out, but was essentially saying, yeah, this was all bullshit. On his Facebook page, he states, I, Michael H. Rogers, being of sound and rational mind, do hereby give notice that I am no longer to be considered a witness to Travis C. Walton's supposed abduction on November 5th, 1975. He later clarified, Travis tried to keep a new remake of the movie a secret from me. He has always had his big secrets that he has kept from me. It angered me. I tried over the last 2 weeks to reason with him, but to no avail. I do not believe Travis is an honest person, and therefore I want nothing to do with him. So basically just kind of renounced it or whatever.
Yeah.
He's not flat out saying it didn't happen.
He's just like, I don't want to be associated
with he's like, I'm no longer want to be associated with him, and also calling out Travis's integrity, saying this is not an honest man.
The Walton family was apparently had a long reputation of being pranksters and practical jokers. Their neighboring family, the Gibsons, recalled being the target of multiple pranks. So the legitimacy of the Waltons' claims, I guess, can be disputed in that way. They're not the most honest people, I guess.
Well, Travis, too, when he was 22, was charged for breaking into, I think he was working for a mining company at the time, broke into the admin building, stole checks, forged checks, and tried to cash them. And he got, I think it was 2 years. I don't know if he got prison time for 2 years or if it was 2 years of probation or something like that. And then he could apply for a lighter sentence or something. But yeah, he has a criminal history, criminal record. So
kind of wrapping this up just a little bit. Walton's story pretty much goes against what typical alien abduction syndrome is. In the 80s, more reports of alien abductions became more widespread. They noted that the stories of alien abductions exhibit a fairly consistent sequence and description of events. However, Walton didn't report any of those events. Sleep paralysis, false memory syndrome, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
He just kind of woke up in a hospital and then blacked out twice. He didn't seem to have any repressed memories or anything like that most abductions seem to have. So there was no consistency with other people that had claimed what an alien abduction was like and what he had claimed his alien abduction was like.
Which is the perfect out if you think about it.
True.
I can't remember anything, so you can't tell me I'm wrong. Just because I can't remember doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
And of course, you can't just be well, every alien abduction's the same. This is a unique situation. These were different aliens.
Exactly. Yeah. So. So it's the perfect story. Part of me wants to think that he was sitting in his basement a year prior and was just masterminding all of this, thinking of every single possible outcome, thinking of every single. I know it gave the timeline of they watched the documentary about Barney Hill, on a Friday. That Sunday he wrote, the letter to the forestry, and then that Monday Travis disappears. I'm thinking this all was not concocted over the course of a weekend. He had probably been thinking about how to execute this probably for months.
Right. And it's funny you bring that up. There's actually a fire tower lookout in that general area that a guy named Robert Schaefer was a longtime writer for the Skeptical Inquirer, kind of started postulating a theory that Rogers and the Waltons made use of a nearby fire lookout tower to achieve their hoax. While the crew typically traveled back to Heber via Black Canyon Road, Schaefer suggests they returned that night via Rim Road, which passes by Gentry Tower, a 70-foot-tall Forest Service fire lookout tower equipped with a generator, a 200-square-foot living space, and an outer metal catwalk, and a spotlight. Schaefer suggests that Travis walked towards the tower, which was brightly lit above the treetops, until an accomplice in the tower illuminated him with the spotlight. Schaefer proposes that when Rogers later drove the crew back to the supposed abduction site, they actually arrived at a different spot entirely, one closer to their Turkey Springs site. So
it's possible.
Absolutely. It's also possible that he was abducted by aliens.
Sure. But we're not ruling out the possibility.
We're not outright calling him a liar.
Yeah.
But the circumstances surrounding this abduction, the fact that there was a reward for the alien story.
There's a tight deadline. There's a tight
possible
like fine. Like it's just, I don't buy it.
There's so many factors, and you're truly the only person that knows is Travis, I guess. And I guess maybe Dwayne, his brother.
Yeah.
We'll never know. We'll never know for sure. He can take that to the grave with him, you know, until the aliens come back that abducted him and are like, hey, yeah, I remember this guy.
Which this is like a complete contrast to the Pascagoula incident, which that one, to me, that I do believe actually happened. I don't foresee that being a hoax the way that this was. That was the one where the two gentlemen were fishing down by the river, and the same thing, a light approached them. Then they were aboard this ship. The younger guy passed out, but the older guy like remembers he was awake.
I was gonna say, and this is the one where they had like the same story across the board, right?
Well, it was what made it so compelling was the police officers pulled them into like the interrogating room and set them in separate rooms.
Right.
It might have been the same room, but they were being recorded, but they didn't know they were being recorded. And like the story was consistent. Like, you could tell they were like, something spooked them. They were like, that was, do you remember anything? Like, I don't remember anything. There was no way that they know they were recorded. So yeah, this, like I said, this story here, I'm.
So you're thinking this is a hoax?
Oh yeah. Definitely. I normally wouldn't believe in this stuff, but I don't buy it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on it. I think that just the circumstances surrounding like I said, kind of the triangle thesis that I have of three things coinciding pretty much at the same time, and the fire lookout tower was kind of an interesting aspect to bring up. That, you know, that is something that's totally possible. You know, you have this elaborate hoax, like you've been saying. He's been thinking about this for a while. Could have been a year, could have been a month, who knows? But it's like, hey, the fire tower's over there. I know that there's a searchlight out there, and I could feasibly live up there for a week.
7 days, you know.
Just as long as the search crew doesn't come up there looking for me. Yeah. You know, that would be the main thing. But I guess they're leading the search crew in an opposite place.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the point of looking over there? We're like directing over here, redirect their attention over this way.
Yeah, why? Well, we got abducted over there, so why are we going to search over there? Yeah,
right, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I'm in the camp. If Travis ends up listening to this podcast and wants to come and talk to us and convince us otherwise, we're absolutely open to it. So Travis, hit us up if you're listening to this podcast. If you just like he randomly searches his own incident on platforms to see what people are talking about it. He's like, gets to us. He's like, these guys are fucking idiots.
It's like a knock on the door. Hi, Travis Walton.
I'm suing you for defamation.
What? For what?
Saying my story's a hoax. Well, it was.
You weren't there. You don't know. Look at these ass scars. Like, I'd rather not. Like, I'd really, like, wow. Okay.
So just for purposes of litigation content or purposes, we're not calling you a liar, Travis. We're just skeptical of your story.
We're just having a hard time believing some of the ins and outs of it.
Yeah. Elaborate hoax or real alien abduction. You can decide for yourself. Like I said, listen to his interview on the Joe Rogan podcast. It is a pretty interesting take. Like his description of what happened to him is pretty interesting. But
I had no idea.
Again, I think that over the course of 4 decades, you're gonna pretty much have that story down pat.
Oh yeah.
So
it's interesting though. No, I didn't even know that there was an interview with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
So cool to check out. Maybe we got to watch the movie.
Yeah, we do. But that'll do it for this episode of Shadows and Sightings. As always, you can look us up on Facebook, Shadows and Sightings, a paranormal podcast, Instagram, Shadows and Sightings Pod, or send us an email, shadowsandsightings@gmail.com. We're looking for new stories. Like I said at the top of the show, if you know a business owner or a cryptid enthusiast that owns a business or anything like that, or you're a local artisan who makes cryptid-themed things or spooky stuff, whatever the case may be, have them drop us a line. We'd love to get in touch with people and grow our cryptid community, our crypthic army, as we like to call it.
The cryptics.
So, like we always say, let us know what you want to hear us talk about. If there's any specific topics that really get your haunted, spooky selves going, we'll try to get that on an episode. Until next time, we'll see you then when we talk about all things spooky.